Good morning. It's Friday. Welcome to the Friday Grief Chat with Jill
And Deb
and Deb.
and
Right, and it is Good
and
Friday.
and Deb. It's Good Friday. It's another weekend for family, if you like them or not. And
And
it's
it's
another.
still
It's a holiday. One of the cool things I did here. Um, there is a family, even though her daughter is in her 50s, they love their Easter egg hunt. So they've had to put it off for a week so the daughter can come home from whatever country or wherever she is. But, some families still continue those traditions. And some families now, because of loss in many different ways, start new traditions, right?
right.
Yeah. And this year I did not have a Passover Seder. So I said, what would make me happy? And I go, matzo balls afloat. So, like last week, I made
I
my,
saw that.
I know.
I was so
And,
jealous.
and let me just say that some people like their matzo balls chewy. They don't like them floaty and fluffy.
I like to let mine soak in all the goodness. That's the best kind. But
Yeah.
I don't make them well, so I have to wait to get
Yeah.
to a good
Yeah.
Jewish deli or friend to make them for me.
Yeah, gluten free. I did it. I had a box. It was a little harder to find it this year, but I had a
Mhm.
box of matzo ball mix, gluten free, and I ate them with abandon. And then my intestines said, "You're done."
Enough.
So
Yes. So we're
I
wishing everyone a
apologize,
really good
Jill,
Passover.
for our internet
Yeah, Deb is in the middle of a pre-storm, and there is lots of activity around her, so she's kind of in and out like that. They're grabbing her. So I'm gonna chalk it up to the Easter witches, because in Sweden you have Easter witches, which I
I
think is
love
a
it.
fabulous tradition. But I think they're grabbing Deb and taking her, and I think they should take this demon dog too, so they can. Yeah, he can go flying off into the.
Oh, what a sweetheart.
Not really.
Oh,
So it is, it's that week that is just all the things, and here it's raining too, which sort of adds to that whole Good Friday-ish thing. But it's a week that lots of different religions have different traditions, and lots of people who have left religion try to maintain their distance from religion because of loss caused by their religious beliefs. It's a complicated weekend.
I often say around this time of year because Easter and Passover they change because it's based on a lunar calendar type
Right.
thing. And the year my mom died, and she had bone cancer with her it had metastasized to all the long bones in her body. And
Yeah.
so she was crying out in pain a real lot. And for those that have just gone through something or are in the middle of going through, or it's just a painful time, you do not have to attend a Good Friday service where they talk about the pain that Jesus suffered, because you lived it. And I know I didn't. And then I didn't want to go to Easter because I didn't feel like being all happy, Easter egg, Easter bunny, and Christ rose again, because I felt like I was still in the tomb. And what I did, and this is to give everyone permission to do it at this time of year, I decided the way to bring me mildly to mid level, not out of my funk, but just mid level, was to watch Monty Python and Life of Brian.
I know
It's
that's your go-to. Yeah.
it's a go-to for me because it sort of makes fun of death. It
Hmm.
makes fun of various things, and I needed that opposite reaction, but I didn't want to fake be friendly. I didn't have it in me. So
Yeah.
I give everybody here permission. You don't have it in you. You don't have to be there.
And I did the opposite. I lost my first wife on Good Friday, and Linda died just before noon on Good Friday. And I did go to Good Friday services because that gave me a place away from people, because Good Friday services are dark. And so I
Mm-hmm.
could sneak into the darkened sanctuary and kind of focus on a connection that was bigger than me. And I needed that at that moment in time. I'd
Mm-hmm.
had another Good Friday before that where we'd had to hospitalize a child on Good Friday for some really serious issues. So for me, that was a place to find comfort.
See?
And then Easter was, I'm not cooking. We're going out. We did an Easter egg hunt around the patio of a restaurant because the kids were little. And I thoroughly enjoyed hearing about my niece asking her minister at the front of the church on Easter Sunday, how come Jesus got to rise up and Aunt Linda didn't? Wasn't she good enough? And yeah,
Ooh.
there was
And
that
what did
moment.
that minister say?
I think he
Do you
said
remember what the
something.
minister said?
I wasn't there. She was at a different church, but it was something to the point of that he rose from the dead to give her hope that Aunt Linda rose from dying into heaven and to finding paradise, and that she would see her again, but when she's very, very, very old, to stop the whole childish, I want to go catch up with someone kind of a thing. And
Yes,
then
yes.
he thanked my
Wow.
sister profusely for not warning him that there had been such an event on Good Friday. Right?
That is a great story. I love
It
that.
absolutely is. Yes. And word of warning to anybody who might be preaching on Sunday, this could be you. Right?
Yeah, I don't even know if kids are going to show up to ours, but I know there'll be people showing up. And so
We have
I
an Easter
will.
egg hunt. So that's they show up for that, and we have really good coffee hour on Easter.
Mm, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, along with all that, there has been some other.
There are people in Florida who are going to have a difficult time on Sunday, difficult time tonight. They had a difficult
Mhm,
time last night. There are, what, 7 in the hospital and 2 who have died because of yet
mhm.
another mass shooting in our country. And I will
And
say, as a USF student, my heart goes out to the FSU students. I
right,
That's a little close to home.
right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, the gun laws they're trying here, the governor at the time, or I think it was, no, in Florida, they had said no one under the age of 18 can buy, because of what happened at that Parkland High
Parkland High
School.
School. This guy
Yes,
was 20.
yeah. And they had changed the law to no one under the age of 18 can get AR.
Gotta get a gun.
Yeah,
This wasn't an AR, this was a handgun, but,
yeah,
a gun is a gun, a bullet does what a bullet is made to do,
to do. Right,
and we need to keep an eye on our loved ones and an eye on our friends and an eye on our friends' kids and not be spies and creepy about it,
right,
but if there's a concern, to say something. And
right.
I don't know anything about this guy other than what little bit has been in the news. It's been a little bit disturbing. Um,
Mhm.
but he lives in a state where guns are important and will always be protected. And that's unfortunate to a
Mm-hmm.
great degree. Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Once again, I got no words. I got
Right.
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing. I do have care and concern for the people related to everyone, including the shooter, because
Absolutely.
it, that that mother has a loss, that father has a loss about the child they raised and the hopes and dreams that they had hoped for their child that
Hmm.
is not going accordingly. And so
And in that state, won't he'll never see light of day again
that's right. That's right.
because there's nothing that Florida will do to make leeway for any kind of issue related to that. That's not how that state operates.
Right.
And I say that as a former Floridian.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're, Deb and I are not anti-gun. We live in areas
No.
where there are guns. We own guns that are locked up. But it's it's the need to use them to hunt people that is the problem.
That is the problem when people in their mind doesn't work. Not it is illegal to hurt people with guns. It is illegal in all 50 states in this country. You are not supposed to do it. Murder is wrong. And
And it's hard to have a hopeful message or to have a renewal message on a weekend where someone has intentionally taken the life of two people and tried to end multiple other lives.
right,
That it does, however, drive home the message of love those to whom you are close and love those with whom you are not, and let them know, even if you're not close, that they matter and
right.
how they matter, because moments like this should remind us that all of that connection is really precious.
Yeah, yeah. And my mom used to say, I never say never with my Debbie, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's while we don't want to imagine our children doing harm, it
Mm-hmm.
happens.
It
It
does.
happens. Mm-hmm.
Even if it's little things like saying something mean to a playmate, or we had a horrible accident here on Wednesday night where a guy who was known for driving too fast and being an idiot was also loaded, and he killed somebody and injured seven others.
Mm-hmm.
It's he had
Yeah.
a mom who raised him and pushed him in a stroller at one point,
Mm-hmm.
and she
Yeah.
has to reconcile with that.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I-
We're all the
you
cheerfulness on humor, grace, and grief today, aren't we?
Yeah, right. So let's
Let's
talk
find some
about.
grace and some humor.
All right. So those of you who might know, Jill and I are going to be presenting at International Death, Grief, and Bereavement. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
All right, and that meets in La Crosse, Wisconsin, yearly. It used to meet overseas, and I'm grateful that it meets in La Crosse. And so we're going to be presenting, and Disney got it right. And so there's all these Disney movies that we've researched, and while this one isn't on there, I do want to talk about it because people have been talking about the new Snow White movie.
Not
And
kindly, some of them.
uh, yeah, but they've been talking about the scene where So she eats the poison apple. Snow White eats the poison apple, and she's in a deep sleep. And Prince Charming comes along. Well, first the dwarves, I believe, set her up what in the glass coffin. I can't remember all of it, but is that correct, Jill? Do you know?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Yes.
And so they put her someplace where they can't go, right? And then she gets kissed on the lips, and the Prince Charming takes her away, and the dwarfs still can't go there, right?
Unwitnessed loss.
And and people are saying that and I didn't research this, I just heard it again from somebody today, that actually he was the angel of death. He took her to the other side. And that's why they couldn't follow her. And I'm like, what? And so it makes me want to see that movie. I can tell you I think it was 50s or 40s, whenever it was in the movie theater, I think I saw it. And that evil stepmother,
She
ugh,
was something.
it was scary. It was really
Yeah.
scary to me. I could handle Bambi's mom dying before I could handle that. So, yeah. So, if any of our viewers want to make a comment down the road, if you don't see this here, or you do listen to it on the future, yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy to hear this. Oh, Disney always kills the mom. No, Ian,
Lots of
Mufasa.
times so.
Yeah, Mufasa, that dad died, you know. And oh my gosh. And in Kanto, who died? The grandmother died? Who's the one? Oh, the secrets. They kept him hidden, right? I forget the name, but what was it's a secret. Do we tell? No, 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 something like that. And I can't wait to watch that again for this. So Jill and I will be watching a lot of clips. I'll
We'll
be
be
sending
binge
her
watching.
binge watching clips and I'll be putting those in pretty soon. And then after we present, we can put that on our page. We'll do that then.
I
And
will
for
say that when I used to teach adoption classes for families who want to adopt children out of foster care, we would open the session on grief with the clip from Dumbo, with Jumbo holding her baby through the bars of her cage and rocking baby Dumbo singing Baby Mine for the
oh,
loss through separation. And so, I mean, there's so many kinds of loss that Disney addresses them all, right? Snow White, Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, all of them. Egan, you got all my favorites.
yes.
Wait, except we're missing the one about Day of the Dead. Which one is that one?
Coco.
Say it again. Coco. That's right.
Oh yeah.
Coco is cultural and beautiful, and
yes.
Yeah.
Also, what happens? Like I said, I'm going to go through these shortly because Jill and I should get.
We got to write a presentation and get our slides in.
Oops.
I've got 2 more due before that, so we'll get it all put together.
Yeah, we'll get it all put together.
Yeah.
So
we need to find some Disney costumes too to wear.
Yes. I may have some. We'll check. I'll see what I got. Yeah. Then also I want to talk about learning experiences for kids. Speaking of Disney and learning about death,
Right.
this is the time of year when squirrels' nests blow out of the trees, birds die.
You're so
Uh,
much fun today.
yeah, I am. I'm
Oh
just
my gosh.
I know, but it's about death. So I
It
figured,
is, and it's true.
and it is true. So I might as well say it.
I have
So
a picture of me when I was like 7 wearing a choir robe and doing a funeral for I think it was a lizard with all of our neighborhood kids in the backyard of the house I own now. Right?
that's,
We were having a funeral.
the first funeral I ever did was over pot plants in the dorm because we were going to be raided. But that's a whole nother story. But I did. I said baruchas. I said prayers. Everybody was bringing in their pot plants. It was the 70s. And we stood over a barrel and I said different prayers to say goodbye to beloved marijuana plants. Nobody got in trouble that weekend. The next time I did something like that, it was when my daughter, her gerbil died. I think it was a gerbil. I don't remember. But she said, can we wrap them up in pretty cloth and bury them in the back? And there was a fence post hole. So,
That's what we
yeah.
did. We
And
had one bolt of cloth in our house that was reserved just for pet caskets.
well, my brother finally, because he thought about it, there's one area where they bury all their dogs and cats
Right.
on their farm. And he's like, what if someone bulldozes here and maybe I should mark it off for when we sell the. So he did. He said, and here's our pet
Cemetery.
cemetery. It is.
Right. When we bought our house, the Grandins, who used to own this house and were my next door neighbors as a child, said, if you're going to move the fence at the bottom of the yard close to your mom's house, polar bears down there.
Polar bear.
Their
That.
white death cat. That's where
Oh,
he's buried.
oh
Mhm.
God. So here's what I was saying, that when you come across, when you're walking with your kid or your grandkid or your niece or your nephew, and you come across even worms, one, these are teaching moments, and you
Yes.
can stop and instead of saying ew gross, but you can say ew gross, and and
And how
use
sad.
and that's sad. And wow, isn't that cool what bones look like? Isn't this cool? What, use it as a teaching moment, or should we stop and say a prayer?
Mhm.
Should we think about its mommy and daddy? Should
Mhm.
we think about, even if it's a worm? And I may have told this story before. I was at a birthday party for one of our grandkids, and the sensitive one came up to me. Well, they're all sensitive, but the one of the grandkids came up and said, "We found a dead mouse inside." And I said, "Oh, well, what did you do with the mouse?" Which is a leading question when kids are used to other people going, "Ew, that's gross." No, what'd you do? Did you say goodbye to it? Did you whatever? Did you put it in a box? So he said, I brought it outside and I laid rocks around it. Do you want to see? Please don't. eh, the way you handle death is the way it's going to
They will
influence.
learn.
They will learn. So, unlike other grandparents, I said yes. And I
Right.
went to the
Show
side
me.
of the garage. And what I realized, I go, oh, would you like me to say a prayer over your mouse? And I did. And I thanked God for such a beautiful mouse. And I'm glad he got to scamper and I'm glad he got to eat. And that gave that normalized it so that that child could go up to his cousins and say, "Do you want to see my dead mouse?" Right? And they got to look at it. And it saddened me when another grandparent kept saying loudly, "That's so gross. That's so gross." And I'm like, "Lady, you are missing a lesson." And to
Mhm.
show where a child can be safe rather than judged. And, I just think that's really important. You've probably had that with your family.
I've had it with my family. I've had it with my grandchildren. They also just lost their last great grandparent, and they did a full burial. And so we talked about, when you get to the cemetery part, as long as you're safe and you stay in a way that you're not going to fall, you can look down into the hole and see where they're
Hmm.
going to put grandpa, and then you can throw in some dirt after they put him in his grave, and
Hmm.
you'll know he's tucked in safely. So I use
Hmm.
the word tucked in with little ones,
Yeah.
and it feels a little more like,
Hmm.
nurturing afterlife.
Rather
And
than buried.
right. And
Mhm.
they were okay with it. They came back and told me about it. And then they went on and played and, had a snack, because kids grieve differently than adults grieve.
Right.
So as long as we're honest about what's happened, honest about, you can look, you can talk, you can touch, you can be sad, you can also be happy. We can
Hmm.
teach them about it. Mhm.
Right. And Jill and I both have books out where we specifically address children. And
Right.
yeah, so that's important to these are part of your job being an adult in a kid's life.
Mhm.
So it's part of it. And sometimes you don't know the effects of it. Uh, when my mom died, Kate got to see, she was 14 and she had
Mhm.
already been to some funerals, unlike me, who had never been to a funeral till I was 14. And I never saw a dead body really at any place until I was in college. And I asked one of my friends to show me the cadaver lab because I'd
Now
never.
that's a way to see them.
Yeah, well,
May I just recommend actually just attending a death and seeing
yeah,
someone in their bed,
I
not a cadaver
never.
lab. My
the
God,
first
Deb.
the first body I got to see at a funeral, I was already 23, 24, and it was the
Mhm,
grandparent of my husband at the time. And
mhm.
and I was like sort of shocked. It was sort of odd. And people are looking at me like, "What's the matter? Have you never seen a body before?" And I'm like, "No."
And that's why kids need to be part of someone's
Right.
illness, being
Right.
told if someone's illness is not going to allow them to get better, why the doctors can't fix things, being part of the
Mhm.
dying process, being present for the death or after the death. Kids
Mhm.
need those moments.
Yeah.
People thought my mom was weird when we were included in all of that repeatedly. We went to the florist after my grandmother died and picked out flowers to go in a little hand bouquet, and then
Yeah.
she took us straight to the mortuary, and we were the ones who put them in my grandmother's posed hands.
Mhm.
And that was her introduction for us at that moment in caring for the deceased body. We were young teens at that point. But
Mhm.
that is something that allows kids to see death as normal.
Yeah. Yeah. So I must be as I teach these things along with you, it's
You're
I'm
giving a
really
gift.
reliving. Who knew?
Right. Right. And it's also where you get the sense of humor. Like, oh, now grandma's not going to sneeze, but dad will, because dad's going to be allergic to these. So we got to keep him
Yeah,
back in the front row.
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
we did that with my mom. My mom was a purveyor of all tchotchkes. So in the coffin, we put things that we thought she could carry over to the other side or whatever. So
Right.
we did put chocolate in there. We did put a couple quarters. We put one of her, she used to sell all these knickknacks, like an oversized pencil.
Hmm.
Sometimes in coffins, there are drawers where you can put pictures and cards.
There is one, the presidential, that's made of a solid piece of oak. And when you lift the top, then the bottom section has these two drawers that slide out. And I
Excuse me.
told my mother years ago I was going to give her that one and put her phones in there. And then I was going to close the casket and call repeatedly because she couldn't tolerate missing a phone call.
That's
But
right. Oh,
but
that's
we
funny.
cremated her, so yeah, that was the end of it. But yeah,
That's funny.
yeah. I always
Yeah,
thought that if you put someone in one of those caskets, you could really like amp it up a little bit for
there is.
$12,000.
I forget the name. Williams was in this movie, a very early movie, and it was about a toy maker, and they buried him up on the hill. This battery that was in one of the toys that got buried with him would go off whenever it wanted to. It was, I'm going to find that movie. That's pretty funny.
Hmm.
So, one of the
Oh my
memes
goodness.
going around, one of the memes going around is make sure someone has your phone after you get buried so that they can text everyone and say, it's dark in here.
Or thank you for coming to my funeral. It was nice seeing
It
you.
was nice seeing you. Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All the things. Yes, I when we buried both of my spouse's ashes at the cemetery had rules that said you can't put food inside the urn that the actual urn goes into, and I'm like, cause why? But it's 6 feet down. I'm so I did. I did. I put their favorite foods in both of them just because, they told me I couldn't. So
Oh,
there
my
you
God.
go. I'm going to be all Egyptian and give them all the things they need to
That's
get over the
right.
river. Hmm.
That's right. Oh,
Absolutely.
my gosh. I
Hmm.
know. I know.
Got to have some fun when you've got to do a burial.
Yes. You know, we do. Other
Right.
people, I hope you learn.
Hmm.
So, yep.
All right. Well, I wish everyone have a peaceful Passover, a good Seder, a happy Easter, and otherwise just a beautiful weekend.
Yeah. Uh, be safe and know that you're cared about. You
No,
are cared
Florida.
about.
You are cared about in Florida. You'll be sitting with both of our hearts this week.
That's right.
We'll see you all next week. We want to hear all the Disney ideas by next week. Bye,
Yes.
everybody.
Bye, everyone.